Hello guys, and welcome to another One Piece card game match between a Sakazuki and a Whitebeard. I am piloting the Sakazuki on the left, and Scrapduck is piloting the Whitebeard on the right. We kind of gave this week to Whitebeard, you know, king of the old meta, see how he does into the newer meta decks. So this is the last of the top 3 decks. I know we could play Katakuri as well, but I feel like the Enel kind of covered it as well. I do think this matchup is very dependent on if Sakazuki can actually properly defend in the early and mid game with enough 2k counters, because Whitebeard, especially this version, the Straw Hat version, is very good at rushing down the Sakazuki. Because the way to beat Sakazuki is just to pressure the leader, you know? Like, it's pretty tragic that you just have to beat him up before he can. Oh man, he goes into a Nami search and bottom decks 2 dads. That is not what he wants to see. But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to just keep going, right? So I will use Sakazuki effect to pick up a 2k counter Tashigi. So here I do contemplate if I want to play the Tashigi to have the minus effect just live. But I do think it's too much of a Dawn commitment to actually swing with her. And also not get like full value of her thing. I can't use her to swing, and I can only use her to pop cards that are just going to get popped anyway from rush characters. So I do just decide to hold her, and I go 8 in, and he decides he does want to drop 2 cards just to defend a Tashigi, and he, you know, just swings in. So he swings 6 twice at me. I defend the first one with a 2k counter, and I think it's too early for me to drop 2 2k counters, so I go ahead and take this life, and I'm immediately rewarded by getting the brand new, so I can finally search. I got a little mixed up when I grabbed my life, or my trash, thinking it was my Dawn. So I go ahead and cycle Sakazuki again. I want to make sure my Rebecca is extra live for when I play her. I play brand new and knock a card off my deck. I am just everywhere this game. I take the Borsalino because the only target I could take, honestly. But also a great card into red. It's very hard for a red to remove Borsalino. Let's see what I do. So it looks like I'm contemplating on swinging into the Nami, but I think I'm deciding if I want to also go into the dad. But I just take out the Nami because if he's willing to swing it now, he might be willing to swing it later. And now I decide to play the Tashigi. I'm a little behind that curve, but I guess this is fine, right? Now he can't actually swing on the Tashigi, and he goes 6 into life again, and I take it because now I actually don't have a 2k counter. I get a Great Eruption trigger, forcing him to discard a card. I mean, this is perfect. You want to make the Whitebeard's hand as small as possible. So I make him discard a Rad Beam, which I remember seeing that in the match. I was like, oh man, if he has a Rad Beam to discard, what is the rest of his hand? Like, it has to be cracked, right? He picks up a Luffy off of this Nami, and he goes 6 into lead again. And let's see if I actually drop a 2k here. I'm counting to see what I can actually play next turn to see if it's worth me taking this hit or dropping 2 1Ks. Going down to 1 life is very scary against any red deck, especially when they run the unblockable Luffy, so I decide to counter out, and I get refunded on my Borsalino. I am getting very lucky this match. I'm just finding everything I need off of the top of the deck or top of life. But we're both down to 2 health, and this is kind of where I wanted to be. So his next turn he's going to go to his ace turn, and now I have to decide how I want to do this. And he has a bunch of cards in hand, and I just want to just start clearing some of his cards out, honestly. So let's see, I decide I will go... just still thinking on what I want to do. Oh man, I swing very heavy into the Luffy, minusing. I think I just want him to let it die no matter what, or drop cards. So he does decide to go Bad Manners Kick Course, and he drops another Rush Luffy. And then I use Tashigi effect to bring him down to 2. And then I use my Lucci to pop both of them. And this is kind of what I was talking about with saving the Tashigi. Because now this Tashigi is just gonna die. The Tashigi's not gonna come back. I really only get 1 use out of it, and that's why I wanted to save it for a later turn. I knew if I would have played it early, I would have been tempted to swing it into that Nami as well. But this is great value. I went to swing into this Luffy hoping he would either lose the Luffy or counter out so he'd lose a card. But he ends up using 2 cards, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I feel like I got amazing value there. He was gonna swing big into the Tashigi, but realizing it's already 2k over, I had to really commit to get it. And then he goes 8 into life unblockable. I don't even have a blocker, but I think he's just using the Dawn to make sure the hit connects. And he picks up a guard point off a life, which, oh man, it's just looking very hard for me to actually go for game here. But I think at this point he might have gone through all of his Luffys, but I haven't counted his trash, so I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking on how I want to actually do this turn. I only have... Am I at 10 or am I at 9? I think I'm at 9 Dawn here. So I go 6, I believe, into the Luffy. I think... Yes, I believe into the Luffy. No, I think I'm going into life and I'm minusing the Luffy because I'm going to clear it anyway. But in hindsight, I probably should have just swung at the Luffy because he could just take the hit no matter what. But I think he's also thinking about the Lucci play. So I go Rebecca, I pull up the Tashigi and I play a Hina from hand because, again, I want my 2k counters, and I bring the Luffy all the way down to 1 life, or 1 cost, and I use the Hound Blaze, and let's see who I give it to. I give it to the brand new, because I see he has 1 event, so maybe I can get an event out of his hand, but I don't. I get a 2k swinging into life, and then I go 8, and he goes ahead and takes this. I probably shouldn't have swung there, but I have 2 reasons for swinging my whole board. It's 1, I kind of want him to swing at my board more than my life, and 2, he's going to get the card anyway. But just like I did in the purple Luffy video, I could easily get punished off of this. So I'm just hoping I didn't misplay it. I was kind of hoping he was going to keep his Luffy alive a little bit longer, but it just didn't happen like that. He forgot to get his Dawn, but now he's at 10 Dawn. And let's see what he decides. So he goes Ace for 7, and he minuses my Hina and my Lucci. And he's going to go 6 into, I believe, the Lucci. And I let it go because I don't want to waste my counter and my blockers here. I know I don't have a Rush Luffy coming in. And he goes into my Hina, and again, I'm probably going to let this go as well. I want to keep my blockers up because at this point I believe he has 1 Luffy left in deck. But I also think he might have discarded it and he's completely out. But I'm not expecting another Rush Luffy for a little bit, so keeping this blocker up is kind of exactly what I want. And now I see that he has his Ace here, and I have to -3 to get the Borsalino, and establishing a Borsalino here is very nice. I swing 6 into his life to force a counter out, bringing his Ace down to 6, and then I Great Eruption, so that way I can bring it down to 4, and I also get to cycle a card here. I get a Man Sherry, which is nice. Not really needed, but it's nice. And then let's see what happens. So I go 7 Dawn, and I finally play the Borsalino, and I bottom deck that Ace, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. I have 1 Dawn left, so I cycle out with Sakazuki, and I get a 2k counter, and I'm feeling amazing about that. I kind of, mismanaged my Dawn play here, but it's okay. I did get a 2k counter out of my 6k swing anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but it does also show me that if he's 2k countering out of a 6k hit, means he's probably out of 1k counters. So now he goes 8 into my life, and I give him 2 2Ks, because now I just kind of felt like I had extra, and I didn't want to get Rush Luffy'd. And there it is, he does have the last Rush Luffy. He goes 5, and then he swings 7 into life, and it's blockable, and I'm just so happy that it's blockable. He's saving Dawn up so that way he can live. And I draw another 2k counter. So I didn't have them in the beginning, but now I have too many, and I'm loving it because I was able to establish the 7-cost Borsalino, which means I will always swing at his life for 2 over. And I just kind of have to decide how I want to do this. Do I want to clear his Luffy and establish another blocker because I have the Borsalino? Or do I want to go for game? I do see he's got a bunch of cards and 2 events up, so going for game doesn't really seem possible, especially if that's just 2 rad beams, and then like my Borsalino, even like max 8k swing in, probably wouldn't get it. So I decided to just go into the Luffy, and he does guard point it, which is kind of the same effect that I wanted, was just to get cards out of his hand. And I have to think, I need to clear this Luffy, because if I don't clear this Luffy, I'm going to be in trouble. And looking at my hand, I do not have the removal to get rid of it. So I have to swing the max amount that I can into this Luffy and just hope he doesn't have it. I need at least 4 Dawn to play the Borsalino, and I know that I'm contemplating if I should play the Mansherry to recycle the Rebecca. So that means I need 6. I would need all 10 of my Dawn to actually make that whole play happen, and I still wouldn't clear the Luffy. So either way, I'd be losing this life. So yeah, I'm just contemplating going max blockers or highest swing into this Luffy. I think, even just looking at it now, yeah, I think I just go as big as I physically can into this Luffy to drain cards and hope the one blocker gets me out. Yeah, see, I'm over here seeing if I can even, what I can do. Because I can always go Rebecca and pull another 2k counter as well. Let's see. Even now it's stressful to think about it. Yep, I go 11 in, and he rad beams, getting him 10, 11, 12. And he does save it, and I'm like, okay, well, here we go. Borsalino and a prayer. Let's see if I can make it out. So I know with 2 life he does have to make both swings hit, and I can always just block out of his Whitebeard swing with, you know, just using my regular blocker Borsalino. And I'm just happy that I don't have to worry about like Diablo Jambe. Like if this was Zoro, I'd be crying. So I do have to take the AK swing. I don't have the counter, even I couldn't even bluff it. And he goes a big swing into my Borsalino, I believe, the 7 cost one, and I have just enough counter to not get out of it, so I do end up using my blocker. And now I have to decide if I can survive another turn or go for game. And again, at this point, I believe he is out of Luffy, so if I clear this Luffy, it's no more blockers. So I Sakazuki cycle. Crazy that that ability is free, by the way. And then I decide I'm actually just counting out my Dawn. And yeah. So I look at this, I'm like, if it's a rad beam plus all this, you could still counter out of it and live. And looking at his hand, it looks like a rad beam or a guard point, I can't tell, and a bunch of 2k counters. So I swing 6 into his life, I believe, and I minus the Luffy because I'm trying to bait him into thinking that I'm going to clear it. And then I go the rest of my Dawn in, and I actually get the game. And he was bluffing that last event, and I was so scared, but I did not think I could survive another turn, because if he had the defense to live the swing, he had the defense to swing or save the Luffy, and I lose anyway. So I just all-in'd his life, and it worked out in the end. Yeah, there's his rush cards. That's what he was looking for. The only rush cards he got was the ace and every single one of his Luffys. But yeah, it was a very good game. I think this matchup is very dependent on the amount of 2k counters and removal Sakazuki sees, and the Whitebeard build, because if it was the Whitebeard version, it would have been way easier. But yeah, everybody have a good day, and peace.